done the last few days. We just have to have one of us on because we still don't know how to do it side by side. So you'll hear Sue's voice. You'll just have to see my mush for now. But yes, and today we're talking about peace. But we'll do all that in a second. Bear with us. Hi, Sue. How are you doing today?
Hi, Jo. Well, it's a good topic for me today, peace, because I think I was blogging earlier, but the opposite of peace is turmoil. And I have to be really honest and say yesterday, I think I was in turmoil.
Well, and I was having to think about that because we are obviously real advocates for mental health, and finding peace is really important within that. However, so is dealing with all the other emotions that come up. And when you told me yesterday, when you wrote to me and said, look, I just need to switch off for the day now, everything's driving me mad, I totally could see that. But you have to deal with that there and then. And if you don't deal with it, there's never going to be any peace. Do you know what I mean? I know it's really hard at the time to deal with it, but if we don't, there's no peace.
Yeah, it's what I said to you yesterday, isn't it? When we were closing on day 6, I said a few years ago, I asked for peace, just assuming that it would sort of arrive as a gift wrap parcel in my front mailbox or just sort of descend in my lap. And then for the next 6 months, year, I met the most antagonistic people on the roads, in the supermarket, in the street, in my own home. And I was challenged to the limit. And so my message yesterday was, if you don't want peace, then you shouldn't really be asking for it, because what happens is you have to be put in the opposite. And we talk about dichotomy of extremes. We live in duality. We can't separate the two. You cannot have peace without the turmoil. And actually, real peace is finding a place of silence and stillness in the turmoil and being there in what it is. Yeah, it's tough.
When I was just researching peace, then I obviously go to all these beautiful quotes. And of course, the biggest names in the world do quotes on peace. And I'll just read a few out. Peace comes from within, do not seek it without. The wide Buddha. Then there is world peace begins with inner peace by the Dalai Lama. And then peace begins with a smile from Albert Einstein. So these are 3 quite well-known people, and their take on peace is as it is. Peace definitely comes from within and starts in here. However, how do we approach that? Because let's face it, let's talk about real life. So yesterday you were having conflict with teenagers, you're stuck in one house, and we had a conversation on the phone, didn't we, this morning? So as
we did
single parents, it's so freaking frustrating sometimes. We get up really early, we work really hard, we're so passionate about what we do, and we love doing it. However, there's this pull and push all the time, because if we are not being sergeant majors in our own home, absolutely frick all gets done. Nothing gets done. If we do not give people direction, people haven't got a clue, whether that's your partner, whether that's your children, whatever. Why do we have to do everything? But if you keep asking yourself that why, then that's what the question that will drive you insane. Sometimes we have to accept it. And my gosh, it's really hard. But we know acceptance is the first step to helping ourselves.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I'm listening to you from a listener's viewpoint, tuning in, and I'm thinking, you've just quoted the Dalai Lama and Buddha, and also out there, there's amazing prophets like Jesus, and you've looked at all these people. But my response is, but they don't have to single parent 4 teenagers. They're not stuck at home with the hormones. And actually, 4 teenagers normally are okay. They have school, or they have jobs, or they have a career, or they have friends, or they have social life here or without, they go out and see their friends. When they don't have any of that and they are purposeless, it is really hard. So we're in challenging times. For listeners that are on board here, we know you are in all sorts of different situations, and you are not Buddha, and you're not the Dalai Lama, and you've got screaming babies, you've got husbands at home that you don't get on with, maybe you're in abusive relationships, and Jo and I so sympathise. We too were in domestically violent relationships that we had to escape. There's all sorts of situations. There's people that are alone. There's people that have got disabilities that can't actually function within the house without support and without help. We get it. And actually, the challenge for ourselves, I think, Jo, as you say, is when there's conflict, if you can't accept it as number one, then you can't start to address it. So I have to sit in today and say, I failed yesterday, I lost it big time, and I've got to kind of pick up the pieces and look within myself. That's really hard.
But can I just say something? You just said the word failure, and we don't really like the word failure because it has really, really negative connotations. Did you really fail yesterday?
Well, without failure, there's no success. I kind of see it as both. Failure, yeah, we ultimately never really fail, but actually without my failures, I can't really address success. So if you want to live in the duality of extremes, I guess, which is very much me, I'm quite an extreme person.
But equally, you learned some big lessons yesterday. And
well, I haven't learned them yet, Jo. I have to sit and say, I don't even think I've come to acceptance, actually.
You're still really pissed off with them.
I need to come to acceptance, and it might take me a day to come to acceptance. I'll tell you what it was. I went to the supermarket, and it was the first time I've been in a week. So basically I had nothing in the house. It got to pretty drastic. There was nothing to eat. And everybody said between 8 and 9 is the perfect time to go. So I went between 8 and 9, and the queue for the supermarket checkout was all the way to the back of the shop and all the way back down again. And then, of course, you've got the shoppers in the middle, and it was chaos, and everyone was on top of each other, and you had these markings to queue in, and yet there were loads of people in each aisle. Then it took me half an hour to 45 minutes to queue. I was so tired and exhausted. Then I got home, and of course, I had to wash down all this food. I had my disinfectant rag, and I had to tip things out, and I just asked for help with the children. And it didn't take much to push me over the edge. So we had a big row, and it was over coffee or hot chocolate. I'm ashamed to say.
It always is. It's never about the big stuff. I mean, and like this is what happens in many households. We get something happens and we don't really address it. Then something else happens and we don't really address that either. Then something else happens and we don't really address it. And then one tiny little thing, like the kids look at you're mental sometimes because maybe they just didn't brush your teeth when they asked them to, and you go, "Oh, for God's sake, just brush your bloody teeth!" And you go like crazy and psycho, and they're looking at you going, "Whoa." But it's not really about them not brushing their teeth. It's about the fact that for the last week you've asked them to do stuff and no buggers listened, and you're feeling worthless, unheard, taken for granted, and many, many, many other things. And we all know that anger is a second emotion.
Yeah. And I think, a good thing to do right now is to take stock and say that in New Zealand, we're on day 7, or we're on day 6, we're on day 7 of our talk. By day 6, by day 7, we've done a week. We've got another 3 weeks to go. The honeymoon period is over of, wow, we can just all be together as a family. We can plant the vegetables, we can clean the bedrooms, and we can play happy families. The honeymoon period is definitely over. Now it comes to a place of triggers and all the feelings and emotions that are inside coming to the forefront in everybody. We'll all trigger everybody. And the point of the exercise I actually think is really good, and I speak for myself, I can't speak for anybody else, is that I was blogging this morning on our Facebook page, and I was saying that it's so easy to put bandages on our hurts and our feelings and our pains from childhood way back. I'm not talking about stuff of today. And those bandages look like shopping addiction, work, being busy, rushing around, having a career, filling the children's life with activities, doing renovations on the house, buying a boat, going on holiday. We're busy, busy, busy. And actually now we can't do that. The shops are closed, our social settings, the restaurants have gone, we can't meet with friends. So the way in the past we would put the bandages on our own issues, we can't do that anymore. So day 7 onwards really is about exposure to what's inside us, our insecurities, or I say my insecurities, my fears, my hurts, my pains, my rejections, my abandonment issues. And actually, I need to address it now. I can't bury it. I can't hide it any longer. And it's going to be painful. So the place of finding peace is going to be really painful for a lot of us, especially me.
And I think what we've got to remember is anything that triggers us from another person, remember, every other person is a mirror to ourselves, isn't it?
Yeah.
So whether it's something brings us joy, hate, happiness, resentment, it's telling us something about ourselves. Everything is teaching us about us. And the more we can get to know ourselves and find that inner peace, that's the trajectory we need to go on. However, it's when somebody annoys us or triggers us and we don't look within, then you're never going to learn.
No.
Everything. So it's telling you something every time when you are feeling pissed off with somebody, when something happens, look within. It's sometimes not even about the actual thing that's happened. It's just telling you something. It might be, as you say, it might be triggering a childhood trauma. It might just be triggering something with you. It might just be something that you want done your way, isn't being done your way. And so then you have to actually really look and go, actually, am I right? Am I right? Or can I actually see that there might be another way to do it and I'm actually just being a control freak? Do you know what I mean, though? It's so true, isn't it? Because everybody wants things done their way. We like it done our way. And we think our way's right. So sometimes you have to put your ego to one side and go, okay, maybe I'm not quite right now. And maybe there is another way to do it. And it doesn't have to be done immediately. Maybe we can wait an hour for that job to be done.
And you've just hit the nail on the head. It's like ego, isn't it? Actually, at the end of the day, you know, all the big spiritual teachers, the spiritual gurus, masters, they all say we have to die to ego. And we die to ego. We find that place of peace, which is extraordinary. I think today is going to be a big challenge for me.
Well, I'm going to read another quote out to you. This might help you. So, peace. It does not mean to be in a place where there is no noise, trouble, or hard work. It means to be in the midst of these times and still be calm in your heart. So there you go. Good luck with that one.
Do you know what? I am slightly calmer because I read some of Richard Rohr this morning, and he's amazing because he talks about the suffering and the pain and the joy that comes out of doing your work. And we have all our podcasts, Joe, we have had the most incredible stories, haven't we? From guests that come on board and talked about cancer survival, male sexual abuse, narcissism, abusive relationships, postnatal depression, the most extraordinary stories. The message is very clear through all of them. The way to get through and survive is acceptance, and it is to actually go into that place of pain and deal with it and address it. If you don't, you die. I mean, it's a spiritual, physical death as well.
Yep.
And I think all our guests have something in common, is that that's their ego has had to die. They've had to accept paralysis. They've had to accept brain injuries and move on with life. And we had an amazing guest on board who'd had a car accident. She fell asleep at the wheel and she was left with a brain injury. She now lives an incredible life with disability, not without the disability. She leads an amazing life in the pain and the suffering. To me, that was just such a testimony.
At the end of the day, Sue, life is life. And at times it can be pretty brutal. And most of the time it's quite difficult. But again, it's the words we use. The words we use are so imperative, so important. And if we are going to be the victim and say, why this, why that, then we're not going to get anywhere. We're just going to carry on staying stagnant and being where we are. Whereas if we say, what can I do now? Or how can I heal myself? Or address the pain? Or accept it? Then they are the tiny baby steps to recovery and to just a different mindset. Because at the end of the day, you can have two people side by side living the same life, pretty much the same crap, awfulness is thrown at them, you know, life's atrocities, couldn't say that. However, two people can handle it very differently. It's how we react, isn't it?
And I actually think these times can be very exciting because it means that we can no longer hide within a career, hide within that rushing around. It means that partners who've been at work with separate lives have to be at home with the children. They've got to connect with behavior that's not acceptable, that maybe is dumped on the school normally. Parents are going to have to take ownership of their children's behavior. We're going to have to deal with it. We're going to have to address relationships at home that are broken. There is no choice. There is no running away. And I was speaking to somebody on the phone yesterday that said it might be England's in lockdown for 6 months. 6 months lockdown, what does that look like? It's not comprehensible. None of us have been able to imagine a week in lockdown. It's something that at Christmas, none of us ever imagined would be happening right now. It's happened so fast, so quickly. Everyone's lives are turned upside down. And I have to say that everybody, nobody's exempt from it, are they?
No, and there's going to be so much to cope with over the coming times as well, you know. And again, like we said, there's going to be great stories and there's going to be sad stories. People are talking about, you know, divorce rates might go up, but on the other hand, people who have been so busy in their life and, you know, as you say, having all of that noise and stuff thrown at them and living on that hamster wheel, actually relationships might mend as well.
Yes,
people might actually like each other still. We still have that common thread. So there's going to be the good, the bad, and the ugly.
And in 9 months' time, there might be a baby boom. As the opposite to the divorce rates going up, we might also have a high conception rate going on at the moment and a baby boom in 9 months. Will the hospitals cope with the number of births in 9 months? I leave myself out of that category.
Me too.
We've done the baby boomers. We've produced 8 children.
We've populated enough, thank you very much. And we're way too old for that crap anymore. But anyway, there you go.
So Jo, can I ask you a question? How do your 4 teenagers manage with being cooped up at home without their social lives, without their purpose, their jobs, their school, their friends? How are they managing?
Well, they are coping quite well. And my teenagers are in a lucky situation because, well, we can say lucky, whatever, but we're because I do 50-50 with their dad, so our bubble contains the 2 houses, so the kids can go between their dad's house and my house. So they're with their dad all last week, they're with me all of this week, so there's a little bit of a change of scenery for them. So in that respect, they're quite lucky. They do have their own space, they've got bedrooms and stuff, and then I'm trying to work from the lounge. So I think it's all about being sensitive to each other's needs as well. And if somebody, we talked about this yesterday, if somebody is in a bad mood, let them go off and be in a bad mood. If somebody needs to just go and watch TV, that's fine. It's more important for you to do that for 5 minutes than for the whole house to need to use the lounge. And I think it's just having, as we said, some structure in the day and some purpose, because you mentioned earlier that normally they have purpose with going to their jobs or going to school and something to keep them occupied. It's just having a little bit of purpose. So even if it's just doing some chores in the day, which is never the most exciting thing to do, but let's face it, there is nothing else to do. We cleaned our gym the other day, of all things, out because we've got an outdoor gym. It's in like the carport, and we cleaned because all the leaves had kind of got in there. And you can kind of just bypass things sometimes because you just live with it. But then when you actually change it, everybody went, oh, wow, it feels really amazing. You go, yeah, and that's why I'm always going on about let's have a tidy house, because actually a tidy house helps you mentally and everything, doesn't it? Because it clears away all that clutter. Yeah. So they've seen the benefits of that, so they're more on board to do some chores now. So we just do some chores in the day, but I don't make it like a big thing. Each of them are maybe doing a bit of homework. My eldest is out working now, so he's doing a little bit of studying. And they are keeping in touch with their friends, and then I make sure that they go out and have some fresh air every day. Like last night, for instance, before dinner, we put the crock pot on, and then at about 5 o'clock before low tide, we all went for a family walk along the beach for an hour and a half. And my daughter was hilarious because she's not really into exercise. She says, I'm pretty sure that has not made my endorphins flow, Mum.
Oh, that's lovely. That is so her.
I know, it's so her. However, she was talking, she was chatting, we were outside in the fresh air, and I know her endorphins were flowing, so I'm fine. She can say what she wants. But we just got out. I think it's just having a little bit of structure in the day. And the way I've sold it to the kids is, look, I'm going to ask you to do some chores Monday to Friday. I'm going to suggest we do some things. Then you can have your own downtime. We'll go for some fresh air, and then the weekends you can do what you want.
Love it.
That's how I feel.
And as you say, they're lucky, aren't they? They can go between 2 households. And I know that many people have got different bubbles going on. In New Zealand, we call it a bubble. It's our family unit. It's the people that we're living with. And bubbles nowadays look like all sorts of different things. There's no stereotype for a bubble.
Yeah, so we are, and talking about peace, obviously the topic is peace today. Peace does not mean peaceful necessarily. I mean, it would be nice if we had some peaceful moments and some downtime and quiet moments. That may not actually be the case. The whole point in finding peace is finding it within the chaos and turmoil, and finding peace in here. So I think that's where the acceptance comes from, Sue. So I accept that this is the situation. I accept that I have to be the one that suggests what jobs need to be done, even though it's bloody exhausting, but I accept it.
Do you know what my 3rd child, my son, did yesterday? We bought, luckily, I don't know if it's lucky or not, but a few weeks ago before lockdown, I found this green sofa for $20 in an op shop, an op shop being a charity shop in England, secondhand. So yesterday my son decided that he was going to create a garage and make a den because we need a bit more space. So the cars went out of the garage, where the green sofa was put down, a couple of rugs from the house was put in there, and this sort of teenage hangout was created. And he made a table yesterday. He found some wood under the house, and we had no nails, but he created a table. And I'm going to show you a photograph of this table. It's a coffee table that he made. I know you can see it on the screen. Can you see the coffee table?
I can, but FaceTime people can't.
Can't sit, no. Anyway, 4 planks of wood on some legs, and he made a coffee table. And I thought yesterday, isn't that innovative, what you can actually do when you are bored out of your mind? So we've got this nice little den in the garage, and our garage is outside. We're right next door to the superette, the dairy here, which is still open. So there's a queue in the street because only one person's allowed in. So in the garage, you can hear all the conversations that are had outside the shop. And it's very interesting because I recognise a lot of the voices.
We might get some stories on the podcast from
It's
them.
not all happy families, I can tell you. So I was quite pleased. It's certainly not all happy families out there.
No. And on that note, have you got any quotes today, Sue?
I posted my quote online, actually. I'll see if I can find it on my phone quickly, because I've just posted it this morning. And it says, if I can get it up.
I've got one. Be selective with your battles. Sometimes peace is better than being right.
Oh, well, that applies to me from yesterday. I've got one here. Peace begins with a smile.
That was Albert Einstein. That's what I said before.
Is that
Good old Einstein. He knew.
And then I've got J. Donald Waters here. You will find peace not by trying to escape your problems, but by confronting them courageously. You will find peace not in denial, but in victory.
Which is exactly what we've just been talking about.
It is.
All of these famous, amazing people know this stuff, but we're not that stupid either, Sue, are we?
No, we're not just a pretty face either. Now, tomorrow is Wednesday, New Zealand time. I know people are all around the world, different days, different times. I'm lost. I don't even know what day it is myself, so I have to look at my diary. Wednesday, and we are speaking on caring for others. And we're going to cover all sorts of different situations, so do tune in. That will be day 8 for us of lockdown. Pods with Posh and Paul. You can find our podcasts on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, all your podcasting apps, iHeartRadio. But please do like us on Facebook, Pods with Posh and Paul. Come on, like our page, you'll get the updates. We have a blog in the morning, a blog in the evening. We have a podcast daily and a YouTube talk, which we post. Do come on, join us. Share us with your friends. What better time now to encourage your friends? And we'll see you tomorrow. Love, light and peace.
Love, light and peace.
Bye.